Okay, maybe you're right.
Okay, how many of you own a pet that you care deeply about?
Pet.
Oh boy. Alright, this was my dog, Brittany, and it was actually a very nice dog. If I said cheese, she would smile. So I have a bunch of pictures like these of her. And basically, she was killed by a groundhog a couple of years ago. And as sad as that is, there's actually worse things going on in the world. And so this speech is going to be about animal cruelty. There are about 366 cases reported in Indiana. Locally, in Clarksville, I think there was only about 15. That's where I was kind of looking at because I live in Clarksville. But in the U.S. alone, there is 18,000 total reported, but only 1 out of 5 acts of animal cruelty are actually discovered. So in reference of just the United States, there's almost about 100,000 that's actually been found. And we're going to click that. Okay. And as far as the highest state, it would be Maryland because of dog fights, and the lowest is, I believe, Illinois. Indiana is the 3rd lowest, so we don't have too much crime going on. But this here is Lilo. Lilo is a cat from Fort Wayne, and basically, as an animal cruelty act, someone held this cat down on a table, shot him twice in the face, and then once in the neck. Lilo actually survived this and is now visually impaired. It can't see anymore, and it's afraid of any humans around it.
What was he shot with? Like a BB gun?
I think it was a BB. It doesn't matter. It's shot in the face. All right, this here is Milo. This is a more rare case. Someone actually bounded this dog in their basement and poured hydrofluoric acid on its back, and if you're familiar with this, hydrofluoric acid eats through just about anything, and this was a more severe case. But as far as severe cases go, the highest fine that anyone has ever gotten was roughly under $1,000. There's never been anything over that. And this guy that did this, I think, got about a $270 fine at most. And so this leads me to this here. There are people that basically enjoy this kind of suffering of animals. But these two guys are actually one America's Most Wanted. They've been killing tons of animals and taking pictures of themselves. And people that enjoy this sick, demented, twisting kind of pleasure of hurting animals. And it's terribly bad. This guy here is actually from my hometown of Clarksville, Indiana. He had a fine of $160 because his girlfriend's dog went in the house, and instead of like rubbing their nose in it or something, which you're supposed to train them not to go, he threw this chihuahua against the walls and beat it with some kitchen utensil. It wasn't actually described what it was, but when the girlfriend got home, the dog couldn't stand, and she didn't have money to take it to the vet, so the chihuahua actually died later on that night. And that kind of leads me to the first thing of what can you do to decrease this amount of animal cruelty. One is raise the fines. This guy had a $160 roughly fine, and to be honest, if the worst case scenario, which I couldn't even pull up because I couldn't really stand to look at it, $1,000 is not even in that range. I think it should be a lot more time. Most of these guys get a misdemeanor. Animal cruelty isn't even hardly a crime anymore, and that's becoming more popular in most states. It's just considered a misdemeanor if you abuse an animal. The most common, I guess, way to say that stop animal cruelty is if you are a psychotic abuser of animals, you should not own a pet, like Angela. I'm just being serious.
Thumbs up.
Another way is most people who breed pets, my cousins best friend, Jason, is breeding pit bulls because he's like, I believe in this breed and I don't want it to die. For any of you who are struggling with this, no breed of dogs are about to die. They're not becoming extinct or anywhere near it. But years ago, when you went to an animal shelter, you had about every other cage had about an animal in it. And now if you go into an animal shelter, there's 3 or 4 per cage that are being in there. So instead of breeding animals, do like what Bob Barker says, and get them spayed or neutered, and adopt one from an animal shelter. The other, especially from Maryland, the dog fights, don't promote dog fighting. If you have a gambling issue, gamble on horses, because they're not getting, mistreated. They're forced to race around a track, and that's not animal cruelty. Sound level of the audience. So basically, to sum everything up, to stop animal cruelty, there's about 4 things you can do, and that is not promote animal fighting of any kind. Don't breed. Then there is, what I've already said. Raise the cost of fines, which most of you might not want to do that because you have to vote democratically. And I realize most of you are probably Republicans. And the 4th was obviously the reason of if you hurt animals, don't get one. So, thank you.